everyone, it's Poppy here. I'm here in Margaret River talking to James and Boyd about their experiences working with the owls and second generation anticoagulant rodenticides.
Hi Boyd, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi Poppy, thanks for asking. I'm a retired ornithologist. I've retired down to Margaret River, and one of my passions down here is finding there are masked owls right round this town, and I'm afraid I just sort of study them all of the time these days.
So this has got you interested in the rat poisons?
Yes, once we found out that the masked owl's primary diet was rats and mice, and they swallow them whole, we realised that they'd be susceptible to eating rat poison in the tissue of the rats and mice, and even in their digestive tract. And the other thing we found was that the owls are feeding on those rats and mice around where we live. So anyone who's putting out rat baits is likely to be poisoning not only the masked owls, but anything else that's going to eat a dying or dead rat and mouse. So it was fun studying the owls. It's become just one of those passions that contribute to society to try and get the worst of the rat poisons out of the environment.
Yeah. So tell me about Owl Friendly Margaret River.
When we realised we had the problem with the masked owls eating rat poisons, which was in about 2017, 6 years ago now, a number of us got together and said we should do something about this. And the group we called the Rodenticide Action Group, which wasn't very sexy for marketing, and it became the Owl Friendly Margaret River campaign, and it's just taken off from there, and there are groups all around Australia now doing similar things. But a lot of it started here in Margaret River and us finding out about masked owls eating rat poisons.
Great. So how did you gain support for the cause through Owl Friendly Margaret River?
It sort of grew and wasn't planned, but gee, it's worked out well. We had expertise in different areas like marketing and websites, the science, and some artistic capacity. Tanya was able to do a beautiful t-shirt, and that raised money through a GoFundMe campaign. And then we started getting friends of the Owl Friendly hero groups, we called them. And those hero groups included the Shire, which declared Margaret River an Owl Friendly Shire, and many schools became Owl Friendly heroes, and many businesses, including the Tourism Association, the Chamber of Commerce, and many shops. In fact, we're in a cafe right now that distributes our little flyers, some bumper stickers that go on the back of windows of cars that say Owl Friendly Margaret River, and now there's Owl Friendly Nannup and Owl Friendly Augusta and Owl Friendly Denmark, and we've got a website and we've got a Facebook site, and each area around Australia picks an ambassador species the way that we pick the masked owl. So while we do the research on the masked owl, it gives us something exciting to put up and keep people's interest up. If their pair are having lovely little youngsters at the nest hole, we can put that up as a YouTube, and then we can say, and these little youngsters might be fed a poisoned rat, and you wouldn't want to do that. Nobody would intentionally kill an owl, but that's what they're doing with their rat poisons.
And so do you know roughly how many owl hero groups or places there are?
I'm going to get you to talk to James Bennett,
Okay.
because one of our group is our Heroes coordinator, and James makes sure that all the shops and schools and businesses that distribute our materials have the little donation tins that help us pay for all of this, and make sure that they all have the materials. So James might tell you a bit about that. I couldn't do this all on my own, and James is one of the key people in our group.
So how should people control their rodent problems in a more owl-friendly way?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question, because rat problems, mouse problems in a house can be a real issue. You know, we do take that seriously. I've had the electrics in our roof eaten out by rats that could get in. So the first thing to do is the hygiene around your house and access to places like your roofs. People with chooks have particular problems and have got to keep the food out of the reach, cover it up at night from rats. But if people are forced to the point where they want to use a poison, then there are old-fashioned, what we call first-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, and that's chemicals like warfarin. It's a blood thinner, and the animal's got to eat quite a number of them before it dies, and that means that if an owl or something else eats that animal, it only gets one dose. But second-generation anticoagulants, they're called one-dose kills, and one dose kills may kill the rat. One dose kills is going to kill any animal that eats it, which includes dogs, people's pets, which are always being taken to the vets, and it's costly and problematic whether they'll recover from eating the second-generation anticoagulants.
So, following on from that, have we lost any species down here because of secondary poisoning?
I don't think so. We have threatened species around Australia that have been shown to be impacted. The wedge-tailed eagle, for instance, in Tasmania, Tasmanian devils. The research is in its early days, but the first big study in Australia was done here in WA on booboos, and it was found that a very high percentage of booboos, even just killed through cars on roads, had very high levels in them. So we think that in suburbia there are a lot fewer booboos and probably many other animals that have dropped out just because of the rat poisons. And fortunately it's mainly coming from householders buying their stuff at places like supermarkets and hardware stores. The agricultural sector in WA at least hasn't been using the rat poisons as much as they might. So out in the bush I think they're still okay, but around where we live and would love to have wildlife, everything that lives with us is at risk.
So do we know yet if there's a new subspecies of masked owls in southwest WA?
That is a watch and see. We hope to have the information very soon. So we've had a lot of masked owls debilitated and died from rat poison, but also a lot hit by cars. And they've all gone to a study that's being conducted by one of my colleagues to look at the different subspecies around Australia of the masked owl. And there's every chance, but no promises, every chance that the southwest WA masked owl will be separated from its counterpart in southern eastern Australia. There's already a race in Tasmania, and there are at least 2 races in northern Australia, or subspecies. And at the same time, those dead animals have provided their livers for rodenticide testing. So we've been able to do those 2 things, and those birds have died, but there's some use for them, and the bodies are actually going into museum collections, because there weren't many before we started working on the masked owl.
Oh. So one last question, what have you enjoyed the most about your experience with these owls?
I think there's a little boy in me in my retirement that likes finding out something that nobody has ever found before. The nest of this masked owl in southwest WA had never been found before, and we've got them all around this town. So, and just being out there at night is, yeah, as a little kid I was scared of the dark, and now I just enjoy my time out there at night and knowing what's going on, and watching these owls come and go from their nests with their little muppet youngsters who are bobbing their heads up and down and looking around. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you for coming today. Hi James, so could you tell me a bit about yourself and how long you've been involved with this course?
Yeah, sure, Poppy. So I retired just over 3 years ago, and we're in the process of moving down to Margaret River. I met Boyd around the same time as I retired and was aware that he had set up Owl Friendly Margaret River. And I thought this sounds like a really interesting project. So when he was looking for help with his Heroes Network, I put my hand up and said I would help look after the heroes that we have around Margaret River, and just take that administrative work off him.
So do you know how many businesses have become Owl Friendly Heroes down here?
We have about 20 to 25 businesses that have volunteered to join the Owl Friendly initiative, and my role in helping Boyd is to make sure that those businesses have got the materials, information sheets, collection tins, car stickers and so on, to spread the message about Owl Friendly and what we're all about, and to help educate their customers in understanding the dangers of second generation rodenticides.
So what do you think your biggest takeaway is from working with Boyd and Owl Friendly Margaret River?
Well, that's quite a difficult question to answer, Poppy, because since I've joined Boyd, my awareness of what's going on in the local environment has just increased by several 100%. I'm not a scientist by training. I consider myself an enthusiastic amateur naturalist. Working with a professional like Boyd has just rolled out so many different horizons for me and made me aware of so many different issues that are happening in the local environment, just not just isolated to SGARs, but also forest management and other environmental issues. So it's been a fantastic journey, really interesting journey for me, but at the core of it is helping with the Owl Friendly Margaret River drive.
And so what's been the most challenging part of the issue, or the most difficult thing to achieve?
I think the most challenging and confronting, I'll add the word confronting, issue with the Owl Friendly initiative is dealing with some of the more corporate retail outlets that are operating in Margaret River and elsewhere, and coming across just a complete lack of interest in helping with the issue. You can see that the individual you're talking to wants to do something, but the corporate body or the management behind that business is just not interested, and they're there to make money, and they're not really acting as true environmental custodians, and that is really frustrating.
Well, thank you for coming and chatting with me today.
It's a great pleasure, Poppy, and well done with your own hard work.
Thank you.